excited to be up here getting to my story. Josh had asked me to just kind of share my testimony and kind of continue on with his mini series of mentorship. But before we get started, I just want to share a little bit about myself and kind of let you know who I am, a little bit about my family and where I came from. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Joe and I co-lead the 11th and 12th grade guys. Great group, by the way. I love the outdoors, so I ended up coming to UMD. I grew up in the Twin Cities and I moved to Duluth about 12 years ago. And so, I love hunting and fishing, as you can probably see. Some of my hobbies, well, my favorite hobbies are my family. And that beautiful gal on the left, that's Taylor, that's my wife. That's me on the right. We got married, we actually met when we were in high school, or not high school, college. We both worked as RAs in dorms. And so an RA is like someone that's in charge of like a certain section of the living quarters. So we each had our own kind of freshman population we were leading per se. But Taylor and I were really good friends right away. And then we kind of started hanging out. I started to get a little crush on her. And I may or may not have taken a chemistry class twice just to spend a little bit more time with her. And ultimately it worked out because we got engaged, and then shortly after that we got married. So I've been gone for a while, but this is our newest addition, Vivian. She is the joy of our world right now. We love her to pieces. I had a couple more pictures of my dog, Tofty, with her. But yes, she was born on November 11th, and she has just been awesome. She's taught us a lot about what it's like to be a Christian family and Christian parents, and we just have been so blessed to have her in our lives. So if you want to see more pictures, you can see me after. I have more on my phone, trust me. So let's get into the main reason I'm here tonight. So over the last few weeks, Josh has been talking about the importance of mentorship, especially in our Christian walk and just growing as people. In week 1, Josh talked about being mentored. So he talked about a couple of important people in his life that really steered him towards the Lord and that he could trust in to really help him through his walk. And some of the things that he touched on that we learned is God takes this thing seriously. God takes mentorship seriously, whether you're mentoring someone or whether you need a mentor. We're called to lead others, and Christian mentors are really meant to lead by example. We all share the image and likeness of God, and mentors can really help us see, just a piece of Jesus, and help us through our walk. And so then in week 2, last week, he talked about, hey, let's mentor others. We're called to mentor others. Who knows the Great Commission? Matthew 28. No, I'll read it. Kind of prayer. So, Matthew 28, verses 19 through 20. So it says, "Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you, and behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." So, like I said, God takes mentorship extremely seriously. He wants us to have people in our lives, and he wants us to go out and make disciples and have younger people that we can kind of come alongside and help them walk through their faith walk. And so while I'm sharing my testimony over the next couple of minutes, I want you to just kind of see the 4 points that I have on the slides here on the screen. These are kind of 4 different instances that happened throughout my testimony. There's a time when I did not have a mentor, a time when I had a mentor and I did not actively participate or pursue that relationship, having a mentor and kind of actively having a conversation, having a relationship, and then mentoring others. So these 4 points, just kind of think about them as I go through my testimony and see if you can kind of see seasons of life when that really these things had impacted me. So, my story. I grew up as the casual Christian. So for those of you that probably know the casual Christians, my family went to church on holidays, pretty much, that was it. We maybe went to the occasional Sunday church. And I grew up Catholic, and so we went to this thing called religion, which is a lot less cool version of youth group, in my opinion. And so with religion, we met every week, and we ended up going up until 9th grade. And then in 9th grade, you got confirmed, and kind of at that point, you had reached like you were kind of one with the church, I would say. And that was really kind of like a fruitless endeavor for me, because at that point in my life, I really just stopped going to church altogether. I didn't know the Lord, and so I didn't really have any solid faith to kind of back on. And when I was around 7 years old, my parents ended up getting divorced, and so that was a really hard time in my life. It affected me pretty heavily, and it carried into middle school, high school, and somewhat into college. And even there's some things that kind of come up. You're like, wow, that really impacted me. And so growing up, like I said, I did not have a relationship with Christ, let alone really know who He was or what sacrifice He did for me on the cross. And so during high school, kind of to counteract this, I tried to find my identity in sports. I tried to find my identity in my friends and my accomplishments. I was trusting in my abilities to kind of control my life and thinking that the things of this world could fulfill me. Well, with doing that, ultimately, I saw sports fail me. I saw my parents continue to fight through their divorce, which just really hurt, and I saw a lot of family members actually battle cancer kind of throughout my high school, so that was kind of tough. And really at this point in my life, I really had no idea what to do. I was really just getting angry with God, and this was the first time that I even reached out to God, probably years, ever since I was confirmed. And so this is probably my junior, senior year of high school. And I just was struggling. I had no idea what was going on, and I was just blaming God over and over for these things that were happening. Well, the thing that was missing, of course, besides my relationship with Christ, was having someone to talk to, having someone to kind of process through these things with. And really without having a solid Christian mentor, I just really struggled. I tried to hold on to the thought that I could end up fulfilling my own life, and I could do these things. I could use sports, friends, family, accomplishments to carry me through life and let that lead me. But I want to pause here for a quick second and just, ask, how many of you have ever been through a rough situation or a rough season of life? Yeah, we all have, probably. And, don't you wish that there was someone there that you could talk to, you could work through that with, whether it's a close friend, whether it's, a parent or, another mentor. It just gets so easy for us to focus on all the bad things that are happening in life and not really look to the Lord for ultimate security and comfort. Maybe some of you are going through something right now, and, if that's you, I would just really encourage you to reach out to your youth group leaders, to other people within youth group. There's a lot of great people who love you and want to talk to you and would be willing to just sit down and have a conversation. So just please, if you're going through something, we would love to hear about it. Just don't hesitate to reach out. So we'll fast forward on to my college years. Like I said, I went to college at UMD. College was a really great time of spiritual growth, but also a really tough time for me, from battling the things of the world and trying to figure out my spiritual life. Well, thankfully, I had a wonderful friend from high school. His name is Jacob. That's Jacob on the left. That's me on the right. Jacob was one of my best friends. We weren't actually that good of friends in high school, which was kind of funny, but we got to college and we both were searching. We were both kind of lost, trying to figure out what was going on with our lives, and we really just wanted to learn more about the Lord. And so, through this, thankfully Jacob was extremely outgoing. He was a people person, and he always invited people to do things. So in turn, he asked me, hey Joe, let's go to Crew. And so if you don't know what Crew is kind of like a youth group for college students. They meet weekly, and they have a lot of community and just really emphasizing that kind of during a worldly time of our lives. And so Jacob pushed me and brought me to Crew, and Crew is where I really started to dig into the Lord and learned more about who Jesus was. But it was also where I met one of my first ever Christian mentors that really poured into me. His name was Luke. Now Luke was awesome. He helped me understand what it was that I was called to be as a Christian, how I was supposed to be a Christian man and act, and also just kind of own my faith. But during college, I just really struggled to live out my faith. I was always trying to be either part Christian, part of the world, because I had friends in both camps. And I loved to people please, and so that was what I found myself kind of caught up doing, is I would be hanging out with my Christian friends when it would be convenient, and then also go out and hang out with my other friends on the weekends. And I was just really scared to let go of that worldly portion of my life and trust in the Lord fully. But thankfully, Luke continued to try and invest and pursue time and energy into our relationship. But ultimately, I ended up failing to bring the same level of commitment to the table. There were so many times when Luke would call me and say, Joe, let's go hang out. And he just want to share some gospel truth into my life. But I can tell you that almost every single time that he tried to do this, I just thought it was a personal attack against me. I thought it was him just trying to judge me. But ultimately, he knew what was best for my heart, and he was trying to point me to the Lord. But my heart was not in the right place to hear that, and so I just felt that attack. And my college, kind of the next few years, went like that. I would take 2 steps forward, grow really deep in my faith, and then And so it just really was tough because I would feel close to the Lord, and then I would drop back, just kind of getting scared of that next step. And so if that's ever you, I encourage you, if you have someone out there who's encouraging you and leading you and wanting what's best for you and in the right place, like from a Christian standpoint, wanting to pour into you and really just help you along with your walk, I encourage you to proactively pursue that relationship, because there's so many things that Luke's taught me that I didn't think or believe in the moment, but right now they've been instilled into me, and I just am so thankful that he continued to pursue me and pursue me and pursue me, because mentorship is not easy at times, especially when you're trying to mentor me, a stubborn college student. And so I finally just reached this point in my life where I was just tired of living two separate lives. And I was wanting to just let go of that control of my life and just give it to the Lord. And around the same time in college, I ended up meeting Taylor, and then we started dating, and then eventually got married. And so shortly after Taylor and I got married, we got plugged in with Rock Hill and then also a city group. We had some great friends that just kind of invited us to go to a city group with them and just kind of get plugged in. And during college, I'd been going to Rock Hill almost the entire time, but again, I was living in two different worlds and not fully committed. And so at this point, my heart was slowly getting into this better place, and the Lord blessed me with a lot of great Christian mentors. And I'll touch on this at the end, but sometimes these mentorship relationships just kind of happen naturally or organically. City groups are an awesome place, just like our youth groups here. We have a small group for a reason, and I was just blessed for that second chance almost for me to reinvest time into that mentorship relationship. And so during this kind of early growth period when we started attending Rock Hill and our city groups, I just experienced a lot of personal growth, a lot of spiritual growth, and I just really got a deeper understanding of what it meant to be a Christian man, a husband, and now a father. But just like Luke, throughout this whole time, these men are encouraging me, they're challenging me, and they're holding me accountable. I trusted them, but really the only difference between when I was in college and now is that my heart's at a different place, and I know that what they're doing and the reason that they're reaching out and really trying to encourage me or ask me to do things is because they care about it. The Lord really put it on their hearts to pursue me, and I'm just thankful that they continue to do that. One of the things that these guys really encouraged me to do was to become a mentor and find someone to disciple and kind of bring up alongside me, because ultimately they knew that was one of the best ways to grow spiritually, is to have someone that you can bring alongside you and kind of help grow in your faith. And so there's a young guy that was willing to meet with me a couple times a week, and so this was a little bit before youth group, and I was able to mentor him for about a year, and we would go through a lot of books. One of the ones though that was kind of impactful was called The Gospel-Centered Life. How many of you have tried to teach the gospel to someone and not felt like it was impactful or struggled through it? And how many of you that tried to do that thought you knew what the gospel meant and you could articulate it or at least believed in it? Well, I got to this point and I had really never shared the gospel in a way that challenged me to try and articulate it to someone that wasn't a super strong believer in. And so in doing so, this made me challenge myself and forced me to grow deeper in my understanding of the sacrifice that Jesus made for me on the cross, and really understanding why he had to come and ultimately what his purpose was. And so that was just an awesome point of me kind of getting the opportunity to bring someone alongside me. Now, looking back, I thought that throughout my journey, I had a lot of things figured out in my life. I thought I knew what I wanted to do. I thought I knew that I had kind of the control. But kind of recapping and looking back at that, I ultimately had no idea what I was talking about. I had no idea what I needed. And that's what these people were put in my life for, is to kind of point me in that right direction. And as part of my walk, ultimately for me, it was getting to know who Jesus is and his love for me that allows me to kind of die to myself daily and just let him take control of my life. So, I know my journey doesn't really end here, where we're at. And as Christians, we're just called to continue to, learn and dig into the Word. And so each day, I try and start out my day just saying, hey, Lord, I'm a sinner. I need a Savior every single day. Because if we don't do that, and for me, not acknowledging that every day, that's kind of what affected me from going into both camps. I was always over here with my friends in the party world, and then I'd be with my Christian friends from time to time. But ultimately, what I really want you to kind of like get from this is mentorship is it's just a huge and important thing in our lives as Christians. For me, it got me to where I am today. Like I said with Luke poured into me countlessly, and he probably, I've talked to him recently, and he, would probably think that he didn't get through to me, but I've been able to kind of reach back out and just say, hey, like, what you've done has impacted me, impacted a lot of people, a lot of my friends. And so I'm just so thankful that I've had people continue to pursue me, to help me grow, to challenge me to grow. But I'm also thankful for all the guys that have been willing to let me disciple them, because without them, there's a lot of spiritual growth that I would not have been able to experience. So shout out to my youth group guys. Only 2 of them are here right now, so that's a bummer. But anyway, one thing I just kind of want to like wrap up with, and we can have a little bit of conversation. I know that is a lot quicker than we thought, but I just want to close. Like I touched on this earlier, is mentorship can really happen in a lot of different ways. But ultimately, there's formally you can think of it as you have to take that step. You have to go and initiate. Sometimes the Lord's calling you to say, hey, like that person looks like they're struggling. Maybe I can kind of come alongside them and help lead them. But it also happens informally. Like when I was in city group and I got to city group, I just had relationships with people that happened to fit with my walk, and they were able to come alongside me and really just be mentors in my life. But either way, kind of throughout this whole mentorship journey and the things that Josh has touched on with, like being a mentor and mentoring others is, be an active participant. Invest in those people who are around you. Invest in those relationships, because ultimately mentorship is a two-way street, and we need to, pursue that because it's ultimately what we're called to do. The Lord wants us to grow and to grow, the gospel and share it to all those people. I just want to kind of close this. If there's any questions or anything, if you guys are struggling with something, like I said, reach out to a youth group leader, reach out to someone here. We'd love to talk to you. If you have any questions about my story, or just any time, you can always ask me any questions. I would love to have a conversation. But before we kind of close, I just want to close with some prayer, and then we kind of take some time to regroup before some more time. So Lord, just thank you for bringing all these men and women here today. I just am thankful for your call to us to be mentors, whether that's to family members, younger brothers or sisters, or even the middle schoolers downstairs. Lord, I just pray that you can put people in our lives, and that we're not afraid to pursue those people that you do put into our lives. And just, even if things get tough and they don't want to reinvest back, I just pray that you give us the perseverance to want to be mentors. But I also pray that, as we have people mentor us throughout our lives, because that never really ends, I pray that you can just keep us accountable and help invest back in that time and share that same commitment. Lord, just thank you for the blessing of this place to worship you, and just all of these